أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي كان موجودا قبل حدوث الأشياء ويبقى بعد فناء الأشياء تفرد بالأولية والقدم ووسم كل شيء ما عداه بالفناء والعدم كما قال عز شان كل شيء خالق إلا وجهه وكل نفس ذائقة الموت وقال كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام سبحان من لا يخفى عليه اختلاف النيات ولا يعزب عنه ما سل بعد في الخلوات سبحان الله الذي منه خلقة العباد وإليه المعاد فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خير يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شر يره نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو الملك الذي لا ينازع في ملكه ولا يضاد في حكمه يعظم من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء ويرحم من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء تعذيبه المسيئين عدل وعفوه تفضل ونشهد أن محمدا سيد المرسلين وخير المبشرين والمنذرين صلى الله عليه وآله الهداة المهديين من ركب سفينتهم نجا واهتدى ومن تخلف عنها ضل فغرق وهوى أوصيكم عباد الله بالاعتصام بالتقوى فإنه حبل متين وعروة وثقى قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لقد أرسلنا رسلنا بالبينات وأنزلنا معهم الكتاب والميزان ليقوم الناس بالقسط صدق الله العلي العظيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I begin by advising myself and all of you to practice the taqwa and the piety of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as is the best of provisions. The verse that I recited for you is from chapter number 57, Surah Hadid, ayat number 25. In which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, indeed we sent our messengers with clear signs and sent down with them the book and the balance that people may uphold justice. One of the main purposes of sending not one, not two, not 100, not 1,000, rather 124,000 prophets is what? لِيَقُومَ النَّاسِ, so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can establish qist and justice in the land. Of course, with the nature of insan, which inclines toward justice and wants justice for himself and herself, and wants justice to be done in his household, in his society, in his workplace, wherever you may be. We all demand justice and we all expect justice, and we don't settle for anything less than justice. Yes, a lot of time justice may not go in our favor, but that is something which you live with. If you're going to get the good of it, you're also going to be on the other side of it as well. But nonetheless, as long as if things are being done based on qist and adalat and justice, you live with the results. So therefore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala emphasized a great deal by sending all of these anbiya. One of their duties, one of the main duties is to go ahead and establish justice amongst mankind and amongst the people. Therefore, these are clear signs that are not just in the kalam of anbiya, but also the book that he sends with them. So he says what? He said, وَأَنزَلْنَا مَعَهُمُ الْكِتَابَ. And we sent with these anbiya, these rusul, what did we send with them? Kitab. What's in this kitab? Kitaba wal mizana. So here some of us discuss actually, is mizan something other than the kitab that Allah has sent with them? So look at the ayat, it says we sent, وَأَنزَلْنَا مَعَهُمْ, we sent with them al-kitaba wal mizana. These are two maf'ul that are being used for anzalna. That we sent with them two things, kitab and mizan. Does that mean mizan is another thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent along with it? That's another discussion for another day. But nonetheless, if nothing, it emphasizes on the fact that mizan and the balance and the ability to establish justice is something which is innate quality of the book as well as the anbiya. If nothing outside, if nothing is, this is a book, and then this is mizan. If there aren't two distinguishable things, nonetheless, you at least get this much out of it, that this book is on balance and the anbiya are also on that balance. Therefore, whatever comes out from them will also be balanced and will also be according to the rules and the laws of justice. Here we understand sometimes how justice is tweaked and molded and changed and manipulated in the direction of those who feel it just in that way. And therefore, the masses started believing that that is the reality and that is the justice itself. Let me take you back. A history lesson, which is not too far distant history for ourselves. of this land that we live in. We call it to be our home. After 9/11, many of you are well aware. Of course, the children under the age of 24, 25, they don't have any memory of it. But all of us vividly remember 9/11. When the community came under attack, we're talking about our community. After 9/11 happened, the community in Muslim at large came under certain attacks with FBI interrogations. Over 500,000 Muslims, many of us went into the good Muslim mode, right? You don't want to see any peep out of us anymore because we are now surveilled and there's scrutiny and every move is being watched. So you go into what? You go into this good Muslim mode, if there is a such thing, for example. Condemning terrorism 5 times a day, right? Every time we stand up for salat, we were condemning terrorism. That is bad, it is bad, it is bad. We mostly stayed away from challenging the tyranny of our nation's war on terror, which later on transpired, by the way, right? All the lies that were hidden well within, documented, supported by the government later on, that how there were many things, WMDs, just to go throw one thing out of there as well, which was the whole basis of, going into that country. Mostly we stayed away from challenging the tyranny of this war on terror worldwide, which Brown University estimates killed 4 million plus people. Just think about that, 4 million. Muslim voices were mostly mute. Even victims at home, right here, were essentially abandoned, ignored, or silenced. Someone else is in trouble? Well, I'm going to stay out of it. That mosque is under attack? We don't want anything to do with that. We don't want to raise our voices. We don't want to be aligned with that. We don't want to be doing that. We don't want to be doing that. These are hard times, high times, and everyone is being interrogated. Outcome of the Iraq-US war on terror, which is, again, I said, is not far distant memory. You can go ahead and look it up. This is something which is public knowledge now. The quick victory over Saddam Hussein led to a near decade of civil war and occupation. No discovery of WMDs. And the death of more than 4,400 American troops, and by some estimates, 500,000 Iraqis. While American actions did remove a brutal dictator, we were all against that man, the terrible consequences that followed for our service members and the Iraqi people were far worse in the long run. And everybody will agree with that. The trauma that many of the soldiers and the servicemen and women that went through afterwards, and of course that led for them to come out with truth and things that of the nature that you would not otherwise hear. Responding to struggle. How do you respond to this sort of struggle? We see that we are also facing ourselves in a similar dilemma. What is happening right now? And with that dilemma in front of us, right away, we're going to go into the similar good Muslim mode, right? Mute, silent, that things are, right now scary, and you don't want to be raising your voice, lest your voice is caught here and there. And we live in a far more advanced, social media world than we did in 2001, right? It's far more advanced than that. So therefore, we're going to go back into that what? That same good Muslim mode. We're going to be condemning terrorism 5 times a day. Every time we stand up for salat, we say Allahu Akbar, and then we're going to be condemning. We're going to be mute. We're going to be silent again. How do you respond to this struggle? The struggle for justice, struggle for fairness, equity is central to Islam. How do we forget that? Sometimes, because of the pressure that we feel from outside, we forget the core values. And then we lose the courage to stand up for even those core values. Right now is not the time to say those things. A lot of the organizations will get together, put their heads together saying, in order for us to survive, in order for us to do this. Yes, you don't want to be showing bravery where it's not intended. Islam does not say become brave in places where you ought to lose your life. Don't need to show bravery over there. That's called tahawwur. In Urdu, we don't use the word bahaduri, we say tahawwur. Right? Bahaduri is not every place. You got to pick and choose. But nonetheless, here, when the entire world is condemning something, your own politicians are condemning something, many of the American public, majority of it is condemning something, here Muslims are going to go into this silent mode. Ayat of Quran, indeed we sent our messengers with clear signs and sent down with them the book and the balance, that people may uphold justice. Again, reminder, why were 124,000 Anbiya sent? Why was the book sent? Why was the Mizan sent? Last part, to uphold justice. Uphold justice, so that people may uphold justice, not Anbiya. They were definitely upholding justice. You and I uphold justice. That was their maqsad. Maqsad for them being sent over here is not so that they establish justice. It's so that you and I uphold these values of justice. So the struggle for freedom and justice is an honorable struggle. Don't feel sad. Don't feel ashamed if you're blacklisted, if you're facing some sort of intimidation. No, this is honorable in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, it is a struggle. And when you go through any other struggle in your life, think of it this way. When you struggle within your family for something which is right, and if you come out of it with goodness, how you feel about it? Now you're standing up for masses, not just for those who are within these four walls of your house. It requires what? It requires sabr. How you sometimes face, struggles at home, at work, and at places. You need to do sabr. You need to show patience, steadfastness. You don't give up right away. Do you? So, well, that's it with my family. I'm not providing for them anymore. I'm not taking care of them anymore. You don't give up right away on your family. That's your responsibility. That's your obligation. Anyone who has left and stranded their family, they're condemned. Not even by those who are religious people. Even, an ordinary person would go ahead and condemn someone who has stranded their family in the middle of the desert and does not care for them, for example. So you need to have sabr, endurance, persistence, and patience. God has asked us to seek help with sabr and salat. In ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ista'inu bis sabri was salat. Fa innaha wa inna Allaha ma'as sabirin. At another place, fa innaha lakabiratun. That it is indeed a difficult and daunting task. So don't allow fear to limit your support for Muslims and for others, non-Muslims as well. Here, your support is needed. God Almighty has told us that those who take care of the mosque of Allah are not fearful of anyone except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَمْ يَخْشَى إِلَّا اللَّهِ. They don't fear anyone. There should only be fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your heart. So don't fear anything but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is our responsibility to challenge evil, to challenge abuse and the oppression in our capacity. That's the key over here, in our capacity. Nobody's asking you, even ayat of Quran and ahadith go to the extent telling us, La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha or duna wus'aha. We have not put burden on a soul beyond their capabilities. When the qaida of taklif ma la yutaq, there's no taklif upon you. You're not mukallaf. That which you're not able to carry, that you don't have the taqat to carry, you're not going to be held responsible on the day of judgment. But here we see what? Man ra'a minkum munkaran falyughayyirhu biyadihi. I've recited this hadith, I think in this 1 year, because we're now closing into 1 year anniversary of the October 7 from last year till now. I've recited this hadith maybe 10 times already. But every time you recite this, it gives you that courage that yes, maybe there's something that I can do more. It says, Man ra'a minkum munkaran falyughayyirhu biyadihi fa illam yastati fa bilisanihi fa illam yastati fa biqalbihi wa dhalika adhaful iman. Prophet said what? He said, whoever or whosoever of you sees an evil, let him change it with his hands. And if he's not able to do so, let him change it with his tongue. And if he's not able to do it, let him change it with his heart. And that is the weakest of the faith. So don't let go even the weakest of the faith. At least carry on this duty even just by your heart. Just because you call someone terrorist, they don't become one. That's so easy how to change the perception of the entire conflict. You label someone terrorist, that's it. Anything that they do is now going to be under scrutiny. Just because you call someone terrorist, they don't become one. From the start, Israel pushed the Palestinians out, and that is why they will never stop fighting for the occupation. It was their land. They were pushed out. The history is there from 1948, that accord, all those things. I'm not going into depths and details. We talked about it. Actually, I was looking up. Last year, on October 13th, the khutbah that I had given, I have it written down. I keep the records of all the khutbahs, and it's also there on YouTube. I spoke about it, and we talked about the history from May of 1948, what transpired, and then 67, what happened, the Oslo, pact, and all those things, and we concluded with it. So I'm not going to go in the depths of those, but this was something which I said last year as well. From the start, Israel pushed the Palestinians out, and that is why they will never stop fighting for what belonged to them. Simple as that. It was something theirs. They were living there peacefully with other Jews as well, with other minorities and other people there, and they were living for centuries. But then when you push them out, they're going to try and continue to take back what belongs to them. As far as they're concerned, Israel and their allies, they consider them to be transgressors. They don't themselves consider them transgressors. You see written all over the places, do not trespass, private property, transgression is not permitted, it's crime by law and all that stuff. You can go bring someone to court if someone transgresses like that into your property. These are basic rules and laws. We humans didn't even have to make these. This is already understood. But nonetheless, remember, when the entire world considered Nelson Mandela as a freedom fighter, our government officially considered Nelson Mandela to be terrorist. So keep that in mind. That's a longer history, but maybe 40 years ago. Very few of us will remember that, but you still remember that. Originally, while the entire world was calling him to be freedom fighter for his nation, standing up for the rights of the minorities, what was he labeled as a terrorist. Until 2008, of course, that's when U.S. stopped calling him that. It should be comforting for the Palestinians, and now, of course, the Lebanese as well, to know that our government also accused Mandela and the African National Congress of being communist and terrorist in the past, and even placed Mandela and the ANC on a terrorist watch list. So this was something, just because you call someone to be it, does not automatically make them one. Salawat bheji Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The second thing that you hear constantly in the news these days, that these groups, and without naming any, they use civilians as human shields, right? They hide behind the civilians, and that's why so many civilian, deaths are taking place, right? So they go look for terrorists according to their criteria, and the places where they're attacking the terrorists, that's where the civilians are also living, and so, you have the collateral damage right there. So Israel claims that location of the Hezbollah's central headquarters, located in the heart of Beirut, embedded beneath the civilian buildings, which unequivocally proves that Hezbollah hides among civilians and thereby endangering the lives of the people of Lebanon. Similar was heard about a year-long constant battle in Gaza, right, where they would go ahead and attack the hospitals, they'll go ahead and attack schools and places where they would go ahead and claim and allege that beneath them are tunnels where you have the terrorist activities, so we have to go ahead and attack that. Those who are saying that these people hide behind the civilian population, however, Israel forgets that the IDF headquarters is embedded in Hakiria district, in most densely populated area of Tel Aviv. They themselves are doing the same thing. And this is something which is not a hidden thing. It is a known fact. This unequivocally proves that IDF command center hides amongst the civilians as well, endangering the lives of the people of Israel, which is, again, sad, because why are you endangering the lives of common folks who may or may not have anything to do with this entire conflict? Coming back to our discussion under the ayat that I had recited for you from Surah Hadid, ayat number 25, that لَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلُنَا بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ, that indeed we sent our messengers with clear signs. We sent them with Quran, we sent them with Mizan, لِيَقُومُ النَّاسِ بِالْقِسْطِ, so that people may do justice. So oppressors become friends of one another. This is something which is a prediction. When you find someone alike, you become friends with them. And this is the Quran, chapter 6, 129 says, وَكَذَلِكَ نُوَلِّي بَعْضَ الظَّالِمِينَ بَعْضًا بِمَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ. They become friends with one another. It says, that is how we make the wrongdoers one another's friends because of what they used to earn. So interests are alike, then you see that they become friends of one another. There are no simple answers. We can talk about the Israel's declaration of independence in May of 1948, as I kept alluding to that. The state of Israel has fought 8 battles with its neighboring Arab states. These are all, again, facts. There are no simple answers to this historical conflict, but our administration has not shown neutrality because of the pressure from certain lobbies. This bias will only fuel further animosity, hostility, violence, and lengthening of the suffering. Our administration should understand that taking sides will not solve the problems. What is needed is a fair, balanced approach rather than showing bias and double standards. And that's what qist and adalat and justice is all about. And that is something which we are proud of this country, that you bring people to justice. And when you deal with people locally with justice, you should keep the same eye for everyone around you as well. Just because it doesn't fit your interest, you're not going to let go of the core values which are embedded in the fabric of this nation, and that is justice and qist. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq and ability that we as Muslims continue to practice justice and adalat wherever it may be, even if it goes against us. Inna asal hadith wa ablagh al-mu'idha kitabullah a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wal 'asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa 'amilus salihat wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحليم الكريم غافر الذنب وقابل التوب وهو الغفور الرحيم سبحان من سبقت رحمته غضبه وبسط اليدين بالرحمة سبحان من لم يكلف نفسا إلا دون وسعها وعفى عن السيئات ولم يجاز بها سبحان من لا يزداد على معاصي العباد إلا كرما وجودا ولا كثرة الذنوب إلا عفوا وصفحا نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو لطوف على العباد بجوده ولفظ المذنبين بعلمه ونشهد أن محمدا نبيه وحبيبه سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين بعثه رحمة للعالمين ألا قد أمركم الله في محكم كتابه بالصلاة على نبيه وحبيبه فقال تعليما لكم وتشريفا لصفيه إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وعلى إمام المسلمين وقائد الغر المحجلين أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى سيدة نساء العالمين وبذات خاتم النبيين سيدتنا فاطمة بنت رسول الله صلوات الله عليها وعلى الحسن المجتبى وعلى الحسين الشهيد بكربلاء وعلي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي عليهم الصلاة والسلام اللهم صل على مولانا صاحب الزمان ما هي آثار البدء والطغيان هادم ابنة الشرك والنفاق حاصد فروع البغي والشقاق صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى آبائه الكرام ما اتصلت الليالي والأيام اللهم عجل فرجا وسهل مخرجا واكحل ناظرنا بنظرة منا إليه وجعلنا من المستشهدين بين يديه وتفضل على أمرائنا المؤمنين بمزيد التوفيقات وازدياد الإقبال وعلو الدرجات اللهم افعل بنا ما نحن أهله بجاه محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم اغفر بما أنت أهله ولا تفعل بنا ما نحن أهله اللهم اجعلنا ممن يذكر فتنفع الذكر فإن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. استغفر الله ربي. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يسبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم. هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين. وآخرين منهم لما يلحقوا بهم وهو العزيز الحكيم. ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم. مثل الذين حملوا التوراة ثم لم يحملوها كمثل الحمار يحمل أسفارا. بئس مثل القوم الذين كذبوا بآيات الله والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين. قل يا أيها الذين هادوا إن زعمتم أنكم أولياء لله من دون الناس فتمنوا الموت إن كنتم صادقين ولا يتمنونه أبدا بما قدمت أيديهم والله عليم بالظالمين. قل إن الموت الذي تفرون منه فإنه ملاقيكم ثم تردون إلى عالم الغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون. وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائما. قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. وربنا افرغ علينا الصبر وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين بجاه محمد وآله الطاهرين. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضيف. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر.
وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. تسبيح جناب فاطمة الزهراء سلام الله عليها. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. All of us together. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة لابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرزك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Juma Mubarak to you all. Let us recognize the sponsors for today's Juma lunch. It is Mr. Munir Hussain, Dr. Azam, and Mrs. Sania Hussain. Please recite Surah Fatiha for their deceased relatives as well as yours, including Marhuma Jalis Hussain, Marhum Farhat Abbas, and all Marhumin of Hussain family. Surah Fatiha. Bismillah. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Weekend is upon us. Inshallah, Salatul Fajr is at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, followed by Quran Circle, and on Sunday, inshallah, at 6 a.m., followed by Nahja Balagha. And both of these days, breakfast is served downstairs. So please start your day right. Come for Salatul Fajr, inshallah. Also, another announcement tonight, we will have the resume. Well, it has started already, the futsal program for the kids at 6:30 p.m. Kids, get to Quran Academy. They read Quran, understand Quran, and then following that they'll pray, and then they go play in Sadiq School gym. So there's something which was going on prior to Muharram. It has resumed again. So if you have children ages 6 to 12, bring them here for this Quran Academy. While they play with their peers and friends, they learn as well. And of course, the older kids, 12 and up, they play later on. Let us, before I proceed with let's just go ahead and do dua, and then I'll invite Dr. Aftab Hussain for a few words. Let's recite this ayah karima for all of those who are in need of dua, those who are suffering, struggling, going through a difficult time, all the victims or all the injured in the recent attacks in Lebanon and other parts of the world. Let's recite this dua sihat together. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء 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 ويجعلكم خلفاء الأرض أإله مع الله قليلا ما تذكرون.
Assalamu alaikum. I have a couple of things. That's why I'm here. I'm not going to take too much time, inshallah. So we have been approached. There is an appeal that in South Lebanon, thousands and thousands of families have been uprooted, and they are being killed only because of their ethnic beliefs, and there's really nobody to support them. So we are requesting you to please consider donation to support those families, and you can donate to Al-Khui Foundation in New York. Thanks God, Allah has been so kind to us. We are praying in this beautiful hall with air condition on, with a thick carpet, and we will travel in our beautiful cars to our offices and our big houses. So it is our responsibility that the least we could do is pray for these people, for the victims of this aggression, and also contribute financially that you can. And you can do it to Hui Foundation. They will make sure that the money reaches to the people who deserve. The second thing, I get this feeling that people are a little bit afraid to speak up the truth. Why should we be afraid? We should be only afraid of Allah and nobody else. We are the follower of Haidar-e-Karrar. Look at our Maharaja, 85 years old, Syed Ali Khamenei. He was in open, leading the prayer of Jummah. And he says that, you telling us to be afraid of a war. We are in a battle since Karbala. We are here. So We are the followers of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. What can they do? Just kill us? We're going to be killed. I mean, we're going to depart this anyway. तो जान तो जानी ही है, मगर हक की बात कहना बहुत ज़रूरी है. Every place is Karbala and every day is Ashura. In other words, there is a fight between haq and batil every day, between right and wrong. And make sure that you are on the side of the right. This is the Karbala of our time, and we should be on the right side. Otherwise, the history will not forgive us. Thanks God, we live in this country of America, which we love because the Constitution of this country gives us the freedom to speech and freedom to practice our religion. And we are peaceful people. In our whole history, we have never attacked anybody. We have been the victims. The person that our government is calling a terrorist, he fought against the ISIS. And that is why the whole Arab world does not like him. But before that he fought with ISIS, he was the hero of the Arab countries. Okay? So I hope that you stay strong and use your intelligence in November when there's an election time and be on the right side. Don't be afraid to speak the truth. Not only that, we are non-Muslims, even the people who do not believe in any religion are speaking out, because it's a decency of humanity to be on the right side, to be against the aggressor, against the terrorists, against the murderers. If our government foreign policy is wrong, that this murderer comes in and the whole Congress stands 52 times clapping him, that's wrong. That's wrong. Thank you so much.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله صلاة العصر استغفر الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله أكبر اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
الله ملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.